Thank you for following us from Reimagining Star Wars. Santa will finish up his last arc. Santa, take it away.
The next episode in our review is from Season 4, Episode 6. We're still with R2 and 3PO, and they end up separated from the rest of the Republic forces that they're with, and they get into a Y-Wing to escape. The Y-Wing runs out of fuel. They have to land on this planet, and the interesting thing here is it ties in some popular literary pieces. It's very much like Gulliver's Travels in one sense, because the people of this planet are very tiny, and they end up tying R2 and 3PO down, just like you see the little people in Gulliver's Travel tie him down. And it follows a very similar kind of thing. They end up getting loose. They teach these people about democracy, and it doesn't really go over well, but they leave. They end up leaving. They go again, and they land on another planet. It's another primitive planet, and when they get there, it is being led very much like a Wizard of Oz kind of situation. It's almost an Oz-like story. They go, and the leader of this world is this projected figure. The projected figure has complete dominant control over everybody, and you find out that really the guy behind the curtain is not a guy at all. It's some maintenance droids in a ship that had wrecked some time ago, and is kind of embedded into some bedrock and things. So these droids that are in this ship have been kind of taking control of the people by projecting this great big image and telling them what to do. R2, it figures it out. The whole thing comes apart, and the people end up taking back over. But at that point, R2 and 3PO are running out of energy. They collapse underneath a giant like mushroom kind of thing. Some pirates come along. They find R2 and 3PO and in the Y-Wing. They're primarily attracted to the Y-Wing, but in that process, they find R2 and 3PO. The pirates take them on board. The pirates are then attacked by Grievous's ship. Grievous's ship ends up, R2 and 3PO are sucked out into space through that battle between the pirate ship and Grievous's ship. Grievous's ship picks them up, is planning to melt them down and reuse them, but happens just at the right time. The Republic ship comes along. They attack Grievous's ship through happenstance and a series of events. R2 and 3PO end up back on the Republic ship with Commander Wolf and his group from the previous episode. The clone troopers are not at all happy because 3PO talks too much, and he sees them. They see them as distracting them from their primary mission. So that's really it's a really weird set of episodes between these two, 5 and 6, and all three of these, 4, 5, and 6, are really side diversions. They're not included in the overall story arc. There's no real story development. There's nothing here as far as character development goes, and none of them are really needed at all for preparing you for season 7. So that's the summary of those episodes. They're good enough to watch on their own if you have time, but don't feel like they're necessary. So we'll turn it back over to Imagic Maker to pick up from here for the rest of this half of the review.
So the next one is a 4-part arc, and I must say it is really good. It is dealing with a Jedi General Pong Krell and Rex. And I must say that as we go into season 7, getting to know these clones, getting to know Rex is going to be really important. Rex is going to be an integral part of this next piece in season 7 as he and Ahsoka deal with Maul on Mandalore. So right off the bat, I'm going to say this is going to be an essential piece in your preparation for season 7. So the theme in this arc is, what is loyalty? A couple of things I'll say about this arc right off the bat is that it has some really good battle scenes. So in the very beginning of this, we have Anakin coming down, and we have a scene of them coming through the flak. It's really intense. I would say it's in this arc where Clone Wars is really starting to get good, because these battle scenes are pretty incredible and harken to Apocalypse Now, Platoon, and other battle scenes, and even Band of Brothers, kind of. So I think these war scenes seem pretty realistic, and I think they're doing a really good job. I think this is part of the reason why people are starting to really love this series at this point as it's coming out. So from the beginning of Darkness on Umbara, we see Anakin up front, being in the middle of the battle, following the plans that they have, and Anakin reacting and taking care of his men. We get to see what kind of leader General Skywalker is. The reason why this is important is because midway through this episode, Anakin is replaced by General Pong Krell as Anakin is sent back to the Jedi Temple. Right off the bat, we see that Pong Krell does not consider the clones people. He just calls them numbers. And he says it's because he's disciplined, but it's clear that he doesn't have any respect or value the clones in any way, shape, or form. So since we have been establishing that the clones are people too, as part of the Clone Wars up to now, this is really a good highlight to show that Pong Krell is not right. Something is not going on in his head the way that it is with the other Jedi. So right off the bat, we have this established thematically in that he does not treat the clones like people like the other Jedi do. Of course, he states that he's not like the other Jedi, and unlike them, he's very effective in combat, and supposedly this is the reason. But we see right off the bat that he expects his orders followed explicitly, no questions asked, and that he sends the clones right down into a frontal assault. That even if you don't respect the clones as people and don't care about them, you still would respect the resources, and this kind of assault is clearly a waste of resources. When this frontal assault inevitably leads to the Umbarans attacking and overwhelming the clones at the front on point, Captain Rex, of course, orders a tactical retreat in order to draw them out from the ambush position so they can shoot them. General Krell, of course, criticizes Rex, that Rex and Fives both counter General Krell's derision, and General Krell can't counter their logic, so he ends up giving Captain Rex a compliment. This episode ends as Rex and Fives refocus on the battle to repel another Umbaran counterattack. So in the next episode, the clones are continuing their constant suicide assaults as directed by General Pong Krell. When General Kenobi tells Pong Krell that the resources for the Umbaran capital that they're trying to take are coming from a nearby airbase, and asks them to shift their target, their objective, from the capital to the airbase, that begins a whole new round of assaults. General Krell then once again ignores the logical, tactical decision to scout forward and get a feel of the terrain and the enemy ahead when Captain Rex suggests this, again showing us that Krell is disregarding what a normal general would do. And of course, this is made to, I would say, go along with the fact that he just disregards any care for the clones, and he doesn't care that it's a meat grinder, and that he just continues to send them down the pipe. However, now the clones feel that not only is this tactically stupid, but that he really is out to try to kill them. As we said, this arc is loyalty. That is really the main theme. The clones are now questioning their loyalty to General Krell, who clearly does not care about them or tactics. So Rex and his men end up facing these caterpillar-type tanks that are ray-shielded, so their guns really don't do a lot of damage to them. None, really. And so they have to figure out a new way. And once again, we see that the clones are very ingenuitive, and that they come up with plans quickly to adapt and overcome the situation. They end up using their rocket launchers and thermal detonators to to destroy these tanks as they lure them into position so they can blow them up or shoot them. And this turns out to be very effective. And we see that Krell is not really happy, about them winning this combat. And it seems to me like you see facial expressions. Something's going on. At this point in time, it's really starting to peak. You're like, what the heck is Krell doing or thinking? This victory doesn't last long, as these new spider-type tanks come on, and their rockets and thermal detonators don't do anything against them because they're much heavier. Once again, Rex and Fives come up with a plan to get some extra firepower. Their intent is to go and steal Umbaran fighters so they can destroy these tanks. And of course, General Krell thinks this is a stupid idea. And actually, in this case, I kind of agree with him that you would actually send a couple of guys to assault an airbase, sneak on, and steal some stuff. Now, it turns out to be a good plan, but in reality, that probably would not have been a good plan. Of course, Krell does not want to wait for that and orders Rex back into a frontal assault against these tanks that they can't defeat. The clones all lament that Krell is trying to get them killed, and it's true. It's pretty obvious at this point that he's trying to get them killed. But Rex says, hold out, we gotta buy them time for this mission that, of course, Krell ordered to not happen. Of course, Fives and Hardcase do take the fighters, and they are able to destroy the tanks, giving relief to Rex and his clone company. General Krell is continually coming up against the ingenuity of the clones, showing that they're not robots. However, General Krell continues to be dismissive, and it appears he's actually angry about their success. So in this episode, Planet of Dissent, having taken the airbase and denied the resupply from the airbase, they are now receiving resupply directly from orbit. We discover in a transmission that is cut off from General Kenobi that they can't continue their assault and are driven back by long-range missile attacks. General Krell then decides that he will do the assault on the Umbaran capital, leaving the airbase they have just taken. Of course, the clones don't like this, and they see this as another opportunity for General Krell to throw them into the meat grinder. Fives then informs Rex that they've gotten into the Umbaran codes and deciphered them, and they can use those and the fighters they've captured to infiltrate the supply ship and blow it up. Of course, Rex thinks this is a great idea, but when he informs General Krell of it, General Krell goes, no, I'm not wasting any of my troops on that frivolous adventure. However, when Rex informs Fives that they shouldn't carry out the mission because Krell doesn't approve, Fives says he'll find people no matter what the consequences are, and they will carry out this mission. As they attempt to learn how to fly these Umbaran ships, though, they are discovered by General Krell, and then General Krell explicitly orders this mission not to be carried out or take place. Of course, Fives and the other clones do it anyway, Jesse and Hardcase, that is. And we learn a little tidbit of information that comes all the way from the Phantom Menace, as they know how to blow up the supply ship, because Anakin Skywalker has done a similar thing when he flew inside the droid control ship and blew up the reactor from the inside. They, of course, find that the supply ship is in the middle of a space battle. They fly through the space battle. It's actually really cool. There's a lot of really good scenery in this. Highly recommend watching it. And as they make their way, they get onto the ship just fine, only to find that the reactor is ray shielded and they can't infiltrate it with their ships. So Hardcase is forced to dismount from his ship and carry the missile inside the reactor himself to blow it up. Of course, this cost him his life, but Jesse and Fives are able to make it back, and they make it back to the air base, where they are subsequently captured and ordered to be court-martialed. And we all know that that is for them to eventually be executed because they disobeyed a direct order. Of course, Rex then tries to take blame for it, saying he ordered it, but they know that he didn't do that. And of course, Krell wants to see Rex have to execute soldiers who executed a plan, who did a plan that he actually agrees with. And we see that there's a grim and evil satisfaction on Krell's face as this episode comes to an end. In the last episode, The Carnage of Krell, we open up with Rex asking General Krell to reconsider his court-martial of Fives and Jesse. Of course, this leads to them saying, you're right, we don't have time, just go ahead and execute them. At this point, we have Dogma, who has been throughout the series showing that his loyalty to the rules, dogmatically following them, hence Dogma, is leading the firing squad to shoot Jesse and Fives. However, when Jesse appeals to the clones that they're not robots, that they're droids, and that they did the right thing and they knew it, the firing squad refuses to fire upon their fellow men, their fellow clones. And the only one that doesn't seem to agree with this is Dogma, but he finds that he has no support. When this happens, Rex, of course, orders that Jesse and Fives be released. Krell watches this from the tower, and he's now becoming fully aware that there's a mutiny taking place. Following this, Krell orders his troops out on the assault from there onto the capital, and some intel has come in supposedly that the clones' armor and weapons have been taken by the Umbarans, and when they get out there, we find that the clones are attacking each other. And we find this is all due to an order from Krell. So after all these clones kill each other, we come across an old one that we have seen before, Waxer, who's now the lieutenant of this other clone platoon that Rex attacks. And in the combat, of course, they kill each other. And Rex has a conversation with Waxer, and we discover that he was ordered to attack them by General Krell. This is when we now know that General Krell is fully committed to killing the clones off. When they are confronted, they go back to confront General Krell. They discover that he's actually working for the separatists. That he's independent, I should say, and that he intends to be a part of the dark side of the new order that's coming. Of course, he fights them, and after this long-running battle, they eventually capture him using the local wildlife that they had encountered before, these creatures that are in the ground that have these tentacle vines and eat them, I guess you say carnivorous plants, maybe of Umbara. And after they capture him, of course, they discover that the Umbarans are attempting to counter-assault onto the base to take it back. If they take it back and Krell falls into their hands, which they say he inevitably will escape, and he keeps saying he will escape, then everything he knows will fall into the hands of the Umbarans and the Separatists. Dogma, of course, who's been locked up at this point because he's willing to shoot his own fellow clones, discovers that Krell is a traitor, and he's like, how can you be a traitor? I followed you. And of course, Krell laughs at him and says he used their loyalty against them. Knowing they need to kill Krell, Rex has the shields put down, but he can't pull the trigger to kill a Jedi. And this is actually kind of a key moment, I think. It's showing some reluctance to do what needs to be done, but it's with the Jedi, and so since we know Order 66 is coming up, this is very interesting. However, Dogma, being incensed by being used and that his loyalty was abused, he shoots General Krell and kills him, ending the episode. This is a really good arc. Highly recommend you seeing it. There's a few things I could tear apart about it, but not really. They're not big, and I think that it's a really good season so far, and highly recommend you watching this. These are the essentials right here. With that, thank you for coming to Santa's channel, and like and subscribe. We'll see you on Saturday. There'll be a link later here for you to follow over to the second half. Thank you.